at their end of what they need and what they want, maybe then they'll begin to realize. But the other key point to remember, and Trump was quick to remind them, if they get us out of the way, they'll be coming after you. Do you not understand that? They do, but they still think they're in a Joe Biden appeasement procedure. Larry Connors USA here. We're here every Monday through Friday, normally 6 to 8 p.m. This program will be replayed at 6 to 8 tonight. But tonight and today, and Jamie Allman has taken some well-deserved time off. I mean, when you host 3 martini lunch every day, you need more time off. So we want Jamie to enjoy it. And I'm thankful to have a chance to cover his 12 o'clock slot for you. I don't have a 3 martini lunch for you. You bring shot glasses, we'll got some whiskey if you bring your own bottle. Yeah, there's 1 or 2 things you must do. But glad to be here. Jamie will be back tomorrow. When Trump is pointing out our allies are just kind of hesitant, sitting on the edge, this is not the kind of friend you want as we're dealing with a crisis around the world. Our allies are technically abandoning the U.S. Make no mistake about it. All right, well, Larry Connors USA, here we are, hour number 1, March 17, 2026. And with Larry Connors USA, we promise you news, analysis, opinion, and education. You will leave this hour with more information than you have right now. Hold me to that guarantee. Take notes. And we've got a lot of material to give you. We are like a bull charging out of the gate every day. We're loaded with information. In our next hour, Never Trumper John LaBoutier. Oh, this is going to tick off Tim Jones immediately. Speaker Tim Jones does not like John LaBoutier. I do, but I have differences with John. It could be a contentious interview because we're going to talk about his view of what Trump is doing right now and the Democrat Party and how it's falling apart. That's coming up in our next hour. And I remind you, when we're on the air, we are streaming video. You can watch the program even as I speak. How do you do that? You go to News Talk STL Rumble, Facebook, or Twitter. Or you go to Larry Connors USA, Rumble, Facebook. And everything goes up later as a podcast because we want to give you every opportunity to hear the program, watch the program, and more importantly, this is key. And I ask this one favor of you. If you cannot listen and watch entirely at this point, please push the share button. When you watch later on a Rumble stream or any of the other podcast outlets, push share. Send it on to others of like mind. And for that matter, send it to your enemies. Get them riled up and involved. We all need to be focused on our nation and what we're doing going forward. Now, later in this hour, we've got Iranian expert Fred Fleitz. 30-plus years with the CIA and American Intel. He's going to give us an inside picture of what's happening in Iran and what we can expect from the next plays. That's still to come. Plus, the story behind the story. This is a feature we recently started at the end of the 6 o'clock hour, or the end of this hour coming up, where we look back on something, the story behind the story. The other day we did Guyana, the Jonestown Massacre, remember? Today's story, the mass murders case in Houston. At least 30 young boys, aged 12 to 14, killed. Now, they called it a mass murders case because at that time, in 1973, the term serial killing had not really been invented. But that's really what it turned out to be, a serial killing. It is a chilling story. I was there from day one and through the trial. And I've had a few episodes since then that have basically turned my stomach. This will be a two-parter. Today, number one part of the Houston mass murders. Now back to our dealing with Iran at this point. Maria Bartiromo.
Security chief Ali Larijani has been killed in an Israeli strike. Iran still launching more retaliatory strikes at Israel as neighboring Gulf countries hit Dubai International Airport and multiple commerce facilities, with American banks having offices inside the Dubai Financial Center. That happened on Friday. Of course, President Trump says that he is going to be moving to postpone his trip to Beijing. And we spoke with Gordon Chang about it yesterday. Watch. We have been talking about this, and I raised the question in the last 2 weeks. Will this Iran war delay the president's trip to Beijing?
The president of the United States should not go to the Chinese capital during a war where China is helping the other side. Matter of fact, China is helping Iran so much that it really is an enemy combatant. For instance, providing military intelligence, weapons, all the rest of it. Everything except for combat troops. So I think that President Trump's message to China is absolutely the right one.
And that means it will not be taking place for maybe another month and a half, if that soon. In the meantime, he's got to deal with, quote, our allies, our friends, in trying to control the Hormuz Strait and shipments of oil and other cargo through there. Iran continues to expand attacks across the Persian Gulf. You heard in that report from Maria Bartiromo, they put up another commander. Boom, he's out. Next in line. Would you like to be the next commander of the Iranian forces? That's not a target just on your back. That's already putting you in a grave. And when we look at Tehran trying to widen the conflict because they continue to hit other countries, you have to ask, why are these other countries willing to not go against Iran in more detail? They have occasionally, but generally they just shoot down missiles and drones fired at them. President Trump has said, I feel vindicated in years of questioning the fidelity of our Western alliances because I've called them to rally around the flag. They have refused to answer, and even pointing out nations like Britain should have rightly come with enthusiasm. Who is helping us in the Strait of Hormuz? France, ruling out any military role. Not going to do it. Germany, rejecting any military involvement. Australia, the same, not going to send trips or other ships to the Strait. Ireland, ruling out participation. Spain, rejecting any involvement. We're just talking about putting ships in the water to help escort the various ships trying to get through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a major checkpoint, and it is also a major chokehold. But what we have, unfortunately, right now is too many of them that just don't want to get involved. And I want to put that against this. First of all, the national counterterrorism expert appointed by Trump has resigned. He resigned because he does not like what we're doing in Iran. But on top of that, and you could say this is fake news, but Al Jazeera, there's an Al Jazeera op-ed that is praising the U.S.-Israeli operation against Iran, saying that the Dems and media critics are all wrong. General Jack King.
Larijani, not well known, has been running the country for the last 18 months, day in and day out. He has subsumed the power of the presidency when the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, was alive, he designated him to run the country on an interim basis. Only he's been running it for sure since the Ayatollah died, despite the fact that his son has been appointed Mujab, as his successor. So this is the most significant leadership impact of the war since the Ayatollah was killed on day one of the war. It is a huge deal here. And from what I understand, other leaders were also killed.
Yeah, and who else wants to be next? And the current condition of the appointed leader, Khomeini's son, severely wounded possibly, could be dead according to Trump. Brian Kilmeade of Fox News asking a former U.S. ambassador what can be done at this point when it comes to dealing with Iran and the Hormuz Strait.
Before the Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran was believed to have 60% of highly enriched uranium. If I wanted that just for energy, what percentage would I have that on?
3 to 5%.
So what are they doing at 60% while denying that they want a weapon?
Well, that's clearly the fact that this is a military program. And what we've complained about for years, there's no legitimate civilian use for 60% highly enriched uranium. And that overlooks that there's also 500 pounds of 20% enriched uranium as well.
Right. Okay. Now, when you have 60% uranium, how quick can you make it a weapons grade of 90 or 100%? What's the time?
Well, 60% is 90% to 90% there, which is almost at the goal line. We used to use football analogies.
Right.
They're on the 10-yard line with 60% about to score, but they need the centrifuge technology in order to enrich it the rest of the way. And I think we've done a good job at destroying those centrifuges.
We do not want them to get another yard. Now, there's another issue in our hemisphere, which is beginning to boil.
Another significant story we're following: an island-wide blackout hit Cuba yesterday amid that country's deepening energy and economic crisis. All 11 million residents of the island were without power after energy officials reported complete disconnection of the national electrical grid. Only about 5% of the island's power was restored by late last night, with officials warning the fragile grid could fail again. The blackout is Cuba's third major outage in just 4 months, as the government lacks proper funding for repairs as well as the needed spare parts. Cuba's president recently acknowledged the island has not received oil in 3 months and blamed the outages on the Trump administration's halting of Venezuelan oil shipments after the capture of Nicolas Maduro. President Trump was asked about Cuba yesterday in the White House.
But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be a good honor. It's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now.
Now, you know what that's going to do with the left? They're going to start rabble-rousing, spreading rumors and gossip and fear that we're going to invade Cuba. That's not what he said. By taking Cuba, we could just make it possible for the Cuban people who want to be free of the Castro regime, as in Iran, they want to be free of the Ayatollah. All of that could happen. And the part of it, obviously, when we shut off those oil supplies from Venezuela, we knew it was going to reach a crisis point. And that's where we are at this time. Coming up, Fred Fleitz, Vice Chair of the American Policy Institute, longtime friend and exceptionally well-versed in Iran, 30 years in national intel, including the CIA. You'll want to hear his views on what could happen next, maybe what should happen. Plus, the story behind the story. The Houston mass murders. More than 30 young boys kidnapped off the streets, tortured, killed. Lock and load. ready on the right.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Man, as much as I have been around, I have to admit, I really have not really taken in a ton of Sicilian cuisine. In fact, I don't know whether I'd even know what it is, but let me tell you something. Mike Marino at Santino's Cigars and Cocktails right there, 55, right there at the Imperial exit off 55. Amazing. Sicilian cuisine. I actually had it in the form of a pizza, and the sauce is both hot and sweet, and it is all handmade. Everything is handmade there at Santino's, and that's their dinner and lunch at Santino's Cigars and Cocktails, Santino'sCigarCocktails.com. I encourage you to go there and have a cigar or smoke a pipe. You know, when I was last there were a bunch of young people. They were smoking pipes. It was like, well, that is so old school. That is very cool and very natural looking. And let me tell you something. His humidor is incredible. It's almost as big as the restaurant itself. You walk in there, it's a walk-in humidor. They have all these aged cigars and all the great pipe tobacco, everything you need to enjoy a good smoke at Santino's Cigar Cocktails. And right there off of 55 at the Imperial exit. And also, folks, they have the exhaust system, which is a filtration system, just like they use in the casinos. So I know a lot of people smoke, but sometimes they just don't want to be smoked out. Well, you're not going to be at Santino's. Also, they have a wine room that's totally smoke-free, whatever, if that's what you want. And downstairs below, they have a great place to have a retirement party or a birthday party. They have game tables, roulette. They have a bar down there, everything else. So you can go ahead and schedule, rent some space there and have a good old time at Santino'sCigarCocktails.com. Santino'sCigarCocktails.com.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com. John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
A former Obama campaign manager says the midterm elections will be driven by Trump hatred. He estimates 85% of those voting will be voting anyone but Trump. That's how deep the hate runs against Trump. And if you are a Trump supporter, they hate you as well. The same source estimates that maybe 15% will vote Democrat, but really not know why, other than hating Trump. This campaign expert and another admit the real issue is not really hating Trump, but not knowing what the Democrats stand for. A recent NBC survey shows 52% of voters see the Democrats as negative. Read that as losers. Those are worse ratings than the voters give the Republicans. One Democrat campaign advisor acknowledged, "My party is a mess. We're not ready to win." Again, that's because even those in the Democrat Party don't know what the party supports. Woke activism created this Democratic crisis as they ask, are we all about transgenders, DEI, hating Jews? Watch those who answer yes and thank them for destroying the Democrat Party.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL. If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Must be the whiskey. I've been drinking to remember and drinking to forget.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
And with all due respect to Jamie Allman, toss that martini out, fill it up with whiskey. Welcome back, Larry Connors USA, 6 to 8 p.m. every Monday through Friday. And today, because Jamie is off, I was asked to fill in his slot, and I'm more than honored to do so. Thank you for allowing me to step in for you. My guest, Fred Fleitz, Vice Chair of the American First Policy Institute and the Center for American Security. Fred, welcome aboard.
Hey, Larry, good to be here.
I got a lot of material to go through with you, and I want to get, first of all, your reaction to Congressman Mark Harris of North Carolina. He's saying he thinks Donald Trump is doing everything to avoid putting boots on the ground in Iran, but then adds the enriched uranium they have needs to be seized or taken out. How do you see that playing out?
I'm hearing that argument, and I'm seeing people going on Fox News saying we need to send special operation troops into Iran to dig out this enriched uranium. It's just not necessary. This enriched uranium is in a gaseous form. It's buried under lots of rubble. It would take considerable effort if Iran can ever excavate it, and if it's even usable, to make it into nuclear weapons fuel. I mean, we're talking several years. The people who think that this is putting Iran a few weeks or months from a bomb, they don't know what they're talking about.
All right, well, I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you there. That's been a key point of contention. Why are you doing this? If it's going to be that far away, it's not an imminent threat. Why don't we allow them more time? I don't want to give them another damn day.
Well, I agree with that. Look, I think this is a necessary operation for several reasons. Iran had resumed work on its nuclear program. It was assembling a missile shield. It would have so many missiles by the end of this year, we would never have been able to intervene to stop their nuclear weapons effort. I know people are saying they were within weeks or months of getting a weapon. After the 12-day war, they actually weren't. They were further away. But they were certainly going to get one at this rate if we had not intervened. But I mean, I understand people are saying we need to recover this enriched uranium gas. That just can't be done that easily, and it would pose a huge risk to American troops.
Let me raise the other issue that came up the other day since you and I last talked, that maybe they were going to be putting suicide drones on ships, then getting them close enough to our coastline to fire those into our nation.
Well, I mean, it's pretty difficult to do that without detection. You know, there was a report about a week ago that there would be an Iranian drone ship off the coast of California that was going to fire drones. That wasn't true. This is harder to do than people realize, but I do think that the threat from drones are an enormous security threat to our country, not just from the Iranians. And the U.S. government has not done enough to defend against this. You know, Larry, my son made a drone in our basement, and it was pretty damn good. It flew about 100 yards before it crashed. This is a guy with no engineering experience. And think about what you could do if you had an engineering
You can buy one on Amazon and weaponize it and use it inside our nation. Inside our nation.
Parts online from China.
Yes.
And he put this thing together. So, because if you buy it on Amazon, there's restrictions on where it can fly. But if you build one yourself with plans you get off the internet, it's an enormous threat.
I don't believe they're going to care about restrictions where they fly, if that's what the intent is. So Al Jazeera op-ed today is praising what we're doing in our operation against Iran, saying Democrats and the media critics are wrong. I hate to praise Al Jazeera, but what's your thought?
Well, you know, you texted me earlier about Joe Kent, the DNI official who resigned. And it's funny, I'm about to post a tweet where I mentioned that Al Jazeera article, which says that the operation is working because Iran's capability to extend its power in the region and worldwide has been greatly curtailed because of the operation. Its domestic capability to crack down and kill its people has been cut down. So I think it's ironic for this former Trump official to resign in anger because he thinks this is a terrible policy that the U.S. was pushed into because of pro-Israel forces in the U.S. and the Israeli government. I think this op-ed came out at a very good time to show that Joe Kent's absolutely wrong.
I think he wants to side up with the leftists and get an anchor spot on one of their channels. But for the folks that are a little behind this a little bit, Joe Kent was appointed by Trump as director of the National counterism, terrorism center. And he said, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. There is no imminent threat. The same thing we were discussing a moment ago.
Well, I mean, there is not an imminent threat. What really bothers me is that he's blaming this on Israeli officials and pro-Israel forces in the U.S. He's blaming the Jews. He's blaming Israel. And we don't want that in a conservative movement, in the liberal movement. And frankly, this is a fringe wacko, and I'm happy he's out of the administration.
Yeah, I am to that extent. President Trump saying, I'm feeling vindicated in the years I've been questioning the fidelity of our Western allies because they're not rallying around the flag and, in fact, refusing to answer.
It's a shame because we could do this on our own, but it would be a lot better if our traditional allies, especially the UK, were with us. We know that they haven't been spending on the military. They don't have the resources to make a big difference, but we could use their counsel. We could use the ability they have to bring other nations in to support the operation. I think they're eventually going to like the outcome of this operation. But I mean, this is a key time when if we could go in together, it would give us a lot more support, able to get people to support the outcome. But look, we have these left-wing, spineless leaders running European states, and unfortunately, they've made some bad decisions.
Well, you've got a security analyst, Michael Clark, I'm sure you're familiar with. He said, we're going to need a lot of ships if we're going to try to control the strait. We need to position them along the Iranian border, that would help with the protection and getting ships through. So if we had more of these countries stepping forward, we wouldn't be stretched as far. Germany is not offering. France is not offering. Australia, Ireland, Spain. No, we're not going to do it.
I think we can take care of the straits by the airstrikes we're doing right now of nearby areas that are shooting missiles and drones at the strait. I think in terms of the waterway, that the U.S. Navy can handle that. It's the drones and the missiles that are the biggest threat, and I think we can deal with that threat.
Well, what about those that make this decision that we're not going to step up and offer you any help? Then when they have to realize at some point the threat's going to come back to them.
There have been Iranian assassination squads in Europe, in the UK.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me that this is a big benefit to see this regime fall, to see the power projection capabilities of this regime to be greatly diminished. But, the UK has, elections have consequences, and the UK has a prime minister who's frankly pretty far to the left, and he's just not going to listen to reason or stand up for the UK's actual security interests.
So overnight, Israeli forces took out the latest leader appointed. Next one up.
Larijani, who was the head of their security services, a very powerful hawk. It's going to undermine the ability of this government to organize also they knocked off the head of the besieged militia forces, which are being used to repress the Iranian people. It's further hurting the leadership structure of this country, and I hope it allows a mass and lasting demonstration that will bring down the government.
And that, of course, some would say, well, you are trying to nation build. You want to take over Iran.
I believe this operation is intended. Well, it's focused on regime weakening, not regime change. We can't change the regime from the air, but it appears we can greatly weaken it.
So what are we doing with the Kurds? Is the CIA, you think, working with them, trying to come in from the north and take over Iran?
I think there's a lot of things going on concerning the Kurds. There are Iranian Kurds in northern Iran who have left Iran and they're living in Iraq, and these Iranian Kurds, I think, have an interest in coming back and reclaiming areas of their country that they had to flee because of the oppression of the Iranian people. Now, whether Iraqi Kurds will be involved in that, I don't know, but I think that a lot of things are going on behind the scenes to support the Iranian people.
One other point there, we have hit Karg Island, but we apparently just went after the tanks and the shipping lanes and docks, not hitting the infrastructure itself. in the last 15 seconds, are we trying to protect it for future use for us?
I wonder if we're protecting it for future use by the Iranian people. And also, it leaves Trump an option if he needs to escalate further against the regime. But if we were to blow that up, it would also be an enormous environmental catastrophe.
Wow. Fred, as always, you are so loaded with information. I appreciate you going on our forced march, because that's pretty much what it was.
Good to hear. Thanks, Larry.
You bet. Fred Flight's an expert, as you can tell, on Iran, 30-plus years, CIA and other national intel agents. He knows what's going on, as far as we can tell from outside. Now, coming up next, our story behind the story. We're going to flash back in time from where we are now, back to 1973, and when your anchor here was a young reporter and covering one of the biggest stories of my life. And it's affected me for years as well. Still to come.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Well, what an honor it is to have Window World sponsoring free, common sense, conservative radio. Longtime friends of mine, John Gillette is just great. That whole team at Window World, you know, have been St. Louis residents 23 years right here in St. Louis, and man, are they going gangbusters. They are one of two replacement windows that have the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. That's really cool. The number one replacement window, if you look at Qualified Remodelers Magazine, and I am a real estate agent, so I've seen a lot of rehabbed homes, beautifully rehabbed homes, and every single time I'm in the beautifully renovated homes, I'm seeing brand new windows, and they all have the Window World label on them. They look beautiful. They are thermally superior to all the rest. You can stand on the window, and I think you should ask the person who comes to your house with the window to stand on it because it will not break. And let me tell you something. Window World loves its windows and trusts its windows so much that they have a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And let me tell you something. They also have a 36-month same-as-cash financing plan with you with approved credit. So you can call them at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS, the official window of the St. Louis Blues, and really a great window, not only if you're rehabbing, but also if you're replacing one, two, whatever, a whole house project. They'll have huge discounts for you and help you out with that. Really appreciate Window World. They are rock stars in the world of windows. 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
You know, when you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
The Laborers International Union of North America, Local 110, was formed in 1933 and from the beginning has strived for progress and the well-being of others. The laborers of Local 110 are hardworking men and women who take pride in their great work. They are the fastest growing union of construction workers and one of the most effective unions representing plants and quarries. Laborers Local 110 has the best medical benefits, pension, education, and heavy construction training in the market. Visit lu110.com and start your future today.
Colombo and Company.
Debate and negotiations surrounding the government shutdown and the SAVE Act are heating up in Washington, D.C. this week. We'll get you the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
I guess I grew up on an older road. A pedal to the metal, always did what I was told. Until I found out that my brand new clothes came secondhand from the rich kids next door. And I grew up fast, I guess I grew up mean. There's 1,000 things inside my head I wish I ain't seen. And now I just wander through a real bad dream, or feeling like I'm coming apart at the seams. But thank you, Jack Daniels, oh, number 7, Tennessee whiskey got me drinking in heaven. And
this is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA. Now, Larry Connors with the story behind the story.
Eyewitness News correspondent Larry Connors has covered the story since that first night.
David, this entire story of sadistic homosexual slayings would almost appear to be fiction, scripted with the full intention of shocking readers over and over again. It's that hard to believe. So many lives involved, so many killed over such a long period of time, and all of it going undetected. But it's not fiction. It's very real. A deadly conspiracy now listed as one of the most horrifying crimes in this century. An innocent-looking Pasadena home, but some of the people who went in were carried out in plastic bags. They had been murdered. Death in most cases came after the victims had been subjected to various sex acts and torture. The victims were all boys in the early to mid-teens who allegedly had been lured into a death trap by this young man, 17-year-old Elmer Wayne Henley. It was Henley who unveiled this secret of mass killings and led police to the graves of the dead.
Numerous countries have told me they're on the way.
So Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. broke the case open because at one point during the preceding night, the main purveyor and ruler of his mass killings, serial killings, David Brooks, was one of his colleagues, and they were tied up by Dean Corll, who was the man overseeing the boys. And Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. brought a woman, a young girl, to the house, and Dean Corll did not want women inside. He tied up Elmer Wayne Henley, tied him to one of their torture boards, large piece of plywood fixed with basically handcuffs for your hand, your feet, a hole punch in the center of the board about waist high for things you don't even want to begin to think about. Now, at the time the story broke, it was called the mass murders because the term serial killer wasn't popularized until around 1974. So this was a year short of that. But however you want to describe it, it was horror.
Henley said he and two other young people were intended victims Wednesday morning. At that time, they had passed out at Corll's house after an all-night party.
I woke up and he was clamping handcuffs on me. I was laying on my stomach. The other two were on their stomach and they were handcuffed and their feet were tied. I can't remember whether he tied my feet afterwards or they were tied when I woke up. I'd torture him if he'd let me go.
Was he gonna, would he want you to kill them then?
To begin with, he wanted to kill me. He was mad because I brought the chick over there. The chick wanted to run away from home and I was gonna travel with Dean. I thought it was safe. I didn't know no better.
Henley said at one point, Corll put down his gun. He picked it up, ordered Corll to release the other victims, but he refused. And Henley says he shot Corll repeatedly. Henley's initial story makes it sound as if he were in effect a hero. But police suspicions were confirmed the next day. Henley said he had been involved in the murder and burial of some victims found in the dirt floor of this storage shed.
And that storage shed had been rented years before by Dean Corll. It was a dirt floor, and he constantly paid in advance so no one would have reason to go inside. And he was digging up the floor with each new body and dumping them into a grave after he'd wrapped them in plastic and then covering it with lime so the bodies would decompose faster. That boat shed was about the length of, let's say, no more than maybe 8 feet, well, correction, I'll put it maybe 10 feet wide, maybe 25 feet long. It was a hot August day as they began to undig the bodies. The stench was overpowering to the extent some had to leave. But those still trying to bring the bodies out and identify them, they couldn't. Now, this is before police procedures were so tight and strict. Photographers and reporters were standing around on the inside watching in total amazement, shock, and even some reporters had to leave. The bodies continued to come out.
For most of Wednesday night, lawmen continued to unearth bodies. All supposedly young boys, early to mid-teens, all had their hands tied, the bodies wrapped in plastic. Lime had been poured over the victims to help decompose the bodies. It did a more than adequate job. Bits and pieces of skeletons were removed time and time again. In some cases, flesh clung to bones like jelly. The stench inside that shed was almost overpowering. Those with weak stomachs stayed out. Just before closing down the digging operations for that night, a lieutenant in the Houston Homicide Division talked about the victims, and he talked about the killers. How would you classify this series of crimes?
Just like I said a while ago, a hell of a sadistic type of a clown that'd pull something like this.
And you think most of these victims are young boys?
I'm pretty reasonably sure they are. The reports that we have, missing persons, are all a bunch of kids, 13, 14, 15 years old.
The death site and the grave site itself appears tragic enough, but do you think many of them went under any torture?
Well, when you're fooling with a nut like this, that's a pervert, you can expect mostly anything.
And most of the boys had disappeared over a period of months, maybe 18 or less, from the same Houston Heights suburb. They were all considered to be runaways. It was a poor community. No one cared about the boys. They were all white, but no one was concerned. The parents were. They couldn't get any real help from police. Oh, your child's just run away like so many others did. And yes, there is more to the story behind the story.
You are listening to Larry Connors, USA.
I know many of you enjoy the food, the drinks, the service at all Napoli locations. Well, lately someone is spreading false rumors about Cafe Napoli in Clayton. Some claim the Clayton location will be closing. Founder Tony Pietosa and sons Andy and Kai want me to assure you that is false. Or in their words, if you think we're closing, forget about it. So continue enjoying all Cafe Napolis. Cafe Napoli.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA. Now, the end of the story behind the story.
Mama. It's Wayne.
Yes, this is Mama, baby.
Mama?
Yeah?
I killed Dean.
Wayne?
Ma'am?
Wayne, you didn't?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, God. Where are you?
It's all right.
Wayne?
It's all right. It's all right.
Where are you?
I'm out of his warehouse.
Where?
Out of that warehouse he keeps.
Can I come out there?
Yeah, yes. No.
It's on the Highland Park.
She can't. No, you can't come. I'm with the police, Mama.
That was Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. calling his mother. The phone call was arranged, and I would give Ingenuity credit for Channel 5 KPRC photographer Jack Cato for allowing him to use his two-way and hooking it up to the station for them to call his mother. And, of course, Jack Cato actually recorded that conversation. Then, of course, would come the trial eventually. But before we get to the trial, there's a lot more to cover. In one part, Dean Coral was sometimes called the Candy Man. That was a misnomer because the true Candy Man in the Houston area was a man who would later poison his kids with Halloween lace cyanide. But the Candyman label attached to Dean Coral because his parents owned a candy shop. But he was not luring these kids, 13, 14, with candy. It was drugs and alcohol and sex. And it led to their death. I will tell you, when it came to the trial, Brooks and Henley were convicted. Brooks was the second young man involved other than Elmer Wayne Henley. Brooks came down with COVID-19 related complications in a Galveston hospital in 2020. And then he died after serving 45 years of a life sentence. Elmer Wayne Henley Jr., still alive, serving life in prison, more than one. And he began to take up artwork. A Louisiana art dealer suggested maybe they would help generate income for you and your mother. He was looking to make money on it, obviously. And of course, a lot of the victims' relatives were outraged that he was making any money from what happened. I've had contact via other people with Elmer Wayne Henley since he was convicted, and he remains in prison in Texas for life. And of course, Dean Corll was killed by Henley. But there's a lot we don't know about Dean Corll. He had come to Houston from Atlanta, and there were a lot of questions about missing boys around Atlanta. And there were additional questions about missing boys around the Houston area. And it came down to basically this consideration, not a fact, a consideration. Dean Corll would enlist someone like Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. to go out and procure boys and bring them to him. And then he would tie them up to his torture board, do whatever he wanted to with them, and then kill them. And the intent was to do the same at some point with Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. So it wasn't just the fact that he brought a girl to the event. So the question is still open. How many other boys might have been killed prior to Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. being brought in by Dean Corll? In other words, had Dean Corll killed not only in Houston, but in Atlanta and many places in between, numerous teenage boys, and maybe when it got tired of one particular one, he would kill them, and there would go that evidence. These bodies were not just found in a boat shed. That first night, there were 8 recovered. And before it was over with, 17 bodies pulled out. And then the case expanded into East Texas and then back to Galveston. So, yes, there will be more to this story in our second edition tomorrow in the story behind the story of the Houston mass murders. Hour 2 still to come up. I encourage you to stay and remind you also that every program we put up is available as a podcast. Pulling it up at News Talk STL or LarryConnorsUSA.com. And if you pull it up, podcast or audio, please push share. Send it to others. Second hour coming, and I remind you of our pledge: one nation under God.
It's not pleasant to hear it, but Missouri is falling behind in its spending of state tax dollars, education, and health care. But there are ways to get Missouri moving forward again and produce a better life for all of us. That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together a 2026 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can move to a brighter future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to healthcare and budget reform. Let's allow students to attend the school of their choice. Let's adopt new proven methods to help the many school kids who can barely read. Let's limit state spending growth for Missouri's long-term financial stability, and let's invest in future needs with more nuclear energy. Why not common sense reforms to make things better for all Missourians? Check out our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall line, Bob Agnew in Washington. Israel says it killed 2 senior Iranian security officials in overnight strikes in a major blow to the country's leadership. Iran has not immediately confirmed either death. Foreign correspondent John Gambrell explains a popular festival in Iran may generate some protests.
Meanwhile, Iran is basically preparing for this fire festival. It's a tradition that goes back to the Zoroastrians, and it comes as there had been some calls by security forces for people not to go into the streets, not to take part. They fear that a group of people coming into the streets could lead to further unrest and protest against Iran's theocracy. And already the killing of these leaders, the besieged leader as well as Laranjani, could be a push by the Israelis to see if they can get the people to again rise up.
That is foreign correspondent John Gambrell reporting. Want your Amazon item even quicker? Lisa Dwyer reports there's now a way.
Amazon says that it has started offering faster U.S. deliveries of select products for a fee. Customers in more than 2,000 areas can now get orders from among 90,000 items delivered in 3 hours. The charge is $4.99 for Amazon Prime members and $14.99 for non-members. 1-hour delivery slots are also available in some areas, with Amazon Prime members paying $9.99 for the 1-hour service.
That is Lisa Dwyer reporting. Medical device maker Stryker says it has now contained a cyber attack.
Last week's cyber attack affected Stryker's operations, including systems that support customers, ordering, and shipping. An Iran-linked hacking group claimed responsibility, claiming it was in retaliation for a strike on a girls' school in southern Iran. Michigan-based Stryker has 56,000 employees and operates in 61 countries.
That is Greg Cluxon reporting. More at townhall.com.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven you can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted. It works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-94-BIBLE. That's 844-94-BIBLE. 844-94.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a cold one out there today. Temperatures making it into the mid-30s this afternoon under increasing cloud cover as we get into the evening. We could even see a little, and we expect to see a little light snow across the area overnight tonight, but very little impact from St. Louis northward. At most, you could get a half an inch, but I don't think it's going to be a problem on the roads for your Wednesday morning commute. Nice warm up tomorrow, 64 and sunny. And then on Thursday, we're in the mid 70s. We could crack 80 by the weekend. I'm First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Want to work with a winner? Follow the multiplier. 279 times growth in total market cap in the past nearly 30 years. 50 times growth in client assets. And ranked the #1 wealth management firm for employee advisor satisfaction by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Choose a winner. Choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated. Member SIPC and NYSE. For J.D. Power 2025 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects. The name you can trust.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
When they say death to America, you should believe them, because that's what they would have. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it. But they never had the chance. I never gave them the chance to use it. And other presidents should have done. I spoke to one of the former presidents who I actually like. I actually speak to some. I do like some people. Be shocking. And he said, I wish I did what you did. Could have done it. Other presidents, somebody should have done it. 47 years this went on. They call Iran the bully of the Middle East. And you could have never had the Abraham Accords. You could never have had peace in the Middle East. Now you're going to have peace. You could never do it with the dark cloud of a nuclear Iran.
That would be so true. As long as Iran was threatening the Middle East, nations were not going to come together. Now, granted, many of them are also Muslim nations, but you have to keep in mind the differences between Shia and Shia, and you have to keep in mind between some of the tribal units inside each of the nations. But they can be cohesive when they need to be. And if the target is the USA, they can come together. Trump has done everything he can to quell that concern and that basic attack premise. The Kushner efforts previously were a great start. It would have continued if it had a chance to continue his administration the first time around. But then everything gets shut down. And when that happens, well, we're left where we are now. In the meantime, Trump is trying to make it very clear to these nations that what we're doing, you should be in favor of. You should be supporting us. That's not too much to ask. We're all part of NATO. Now, granted, we have not been attacked, so they could say, well, we have no grounds to move forward on NATO. But Trump's remarks are very clear. And I'm going to read a couple of quotes from him. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies rely on the Hormuz Strait far more than ours to be involved. We get less than 1% of our oil from the Strait. Some countries get much more. Japan, 95%. China, 90%. Europeans get a lot. But they're not coming forward to help. A growing number of U.S. allies are declining to take part in any efforts to secure the Strait of Hormuz. France has ruled out any military role, as has Germany, Australia, Ireland, Spain. The UK is also not stepping forward. They've stopped short of committing to direct military action, but they do say we will emphasize coordination with international partners. All of them are saying we will not be drawn into a wider war. No one is asking for that. Could you have mission creep? Yes. Japan is holding off any deployment of any naval escorts to the Middle East, basic upon legalities. We have these nations, and they all have a stake in what happens in the Middle East, as do other Mideast nations. But they're not willing to even show that they would step forward. And of course, the left is loving it. They're loving it because here again, we have an example where they look at Trump as out over his skis. He's not getting any support. And today, Joe Kent, his top counterterrorism official, resigned, stating, I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. He's going to be a darling of the left. You watch. You're going to see his face wall-to-wall coverage as he denounces what Trump is doing, undermining American forces currently in the region, and basically desecrating the graves of Americans who've already been killed. I do not want boots on the ground. I will stress that over and over again. I don't want an invasion force, but it is very possible that we might do some limited strikes in and out, probably with the help of the IDF. And even Al Jazeera column brings this to a point. Now, Al Jazeera is not one I would place a lot of trust in, obviously, but they're praising Operation Epic Fury. They point out that 2 weeks into Operation Epic Fury, the dominant narrative has settled into a comfortable groove. The U.S. and Israel, now here's where I would have some exception, but I want to read it the way they wrote it. The U.S. and Israel stumbled into a war without a plan. Iran is retaliating. Oil prices are surging. U.S. senators have called it a blunder. Cable news has tallied the crisis. Commentators warn of a long war. But then Al Jazeera adds this. This narrative is wrong. That doesn't play well with the left. especially from someone they expected to be on their side. And of course, we have another issue right in our own hemisphere, and that is, what are we going to do about Cuba? They have had a massive power outage for the last 2 days in Cuba. In part, they're not getting any fuel from Venezuela. We have stopped those shipments from going into Cuba. So they've had massive power outages. And they apparently continue, at least on a rolling procedure. This is the kind of thing that gets the Cuban people up in arms to the best that they can acquire them against the Cuban regime, Castro, communist regime, 90 miles from our shore. All right, welcome to hour number 2, Larry Connors USA. Normally, we're here for you every day, 6 to 8 p.m. Today, we're here in the noon hour. Jamie Allman taking some well-deserved time off. So no 3 martini lunch for you. As I said, we have some shot glasses, but you have to bring your own bottle. But we deliver a hard-paced, bull-charging program each and every day from 6 to 8 p.m. And we cover a wide range of topics. And with Larry Connors USA, you're going to get news, analysis, commentary, and education. I promise that. Later in this hour, the man many love to criticize, never Trumper, former New York Congressman, and John LaBoutier. Is he supporting Trump? We'll get to that later. Now, when it gets down to trying to control the strait, one security analyst pointed out there are options other than airstrikes.
It can be done with a good application, or an application of quite a lot of military force. So to do it, you've got to have a gun line of destroyers along not just the Strait of Hormuz, but all the way along the Iranian side of the Gulf, and that's 200 miles. So you set a set of destroyers which can take down any aerial threat, so drones or ballistic missiles that are heading towards ships. Then you need to launch attacks along that coastline, anything that moves. That looks as if it could be a threat, and then you've got to do something about the mines that may be in the Gulf, which means you've got to sweep them. And mine sweeping is not easy. And all navies have given up on mine sweeping over the years. I mean, we used to be the best in the world at mine sweeping, mine countermeasures, and now we're not. But that's the problem. It's a very specialist thing to do, and it takes time.
There is one senator that's been quoted by Fox News as saying that in his talk with Trump, as the allies are balking at helping support what we're doing in the Iranian conflict, he says, "I have never heard Trump so angry." And he also added, "I share that anger." He's not trying to hold back. That would be Senator Lindsey Graham. We talked the other day about the possibility that Iran could get close enough to our shores to launch either ballistic missiles on boats that get by undetected, or even kamikaze drones hitting the California coast just right before the Academy Awards. And those at the Academy Awards were assured by the Oscars producers, you'll be safe. We have federal, state, and local police available. You see what they do there? Now suddenly they want police in action. And thank goodness it came off without any threat. But we've got some inside our nation, uncounted terrorists that came across the border illegally, unvetted. Thank you, Joe Biden. It wouldn't take much for them to put a drone up, weaponize it, and hit any target. In Florida, one Muslim made it very clear, this is what we want from your nation.
There's nearly 7 million American Muslims right now, alhamdulillah. Let's take gratitude in the fact that we're here in the great state of Florida. Part of power building is building a pipeline of leaders. I want to see, inshallah, one day governor of the state of Florida is a Muslim. Everybody say inshallah. The House has Muslims in there, say inshallah. Senators, Muslim senators, say inshallah.
Muslims are men who defend themselves, they defend their religion, they defend their principles, what they believe in. They don't apologize about jihad. They're not afraid of jihad. It's a part of who we are. The Muslim is an individual who, part of his rojula, being a man, is not our wives do jihad, we do jihad.
2 points there. See, they do not mind killing themselves to kill you. They have and they will. And he also stressed men, women, you just are shackled to Sharia law. Vice President Vance says what we need in our nation is more law and order.
I think there are two obvious tools that we have to stop the fraud that's happening against the American people. One is that when we see evidence of fraud, we stop the payments. Pretty simple, right? We know that the American people are being defrauded. Let's try to stop the payments and ensure that whoever's making these payments is actually complying with some basic due diligence and making sure the payments are going to the right place. I think the second tool, of course, we have, as the President mentioned, is we have law enforcement options. We know that some of this fraud is just bad. Some of it's criminal. We know that people are intentionally trying to defraud the American people. It's not just in Minnesota. It's all across the country.
99% is criminal.
Yes, sir. So this is one of the reasons why DOJ is such an important part of this, is because we have to make sure that where we see criminal conduct, we actually prosecute it. And the President's talked about this a lot in the past. I don't need to repeat it, but it's worth noting that so many times when we find people engaged in really, really bad conduct, you know, the local judge or the local grand jury tries to stop it. One of the cool things about what we're doing is we're trying to take some innovative steps to ensure that when we find criminal fraud, we can actually prosecute it all the way to the end.
And again, it's not so much, it is a key issue of money being defrauded from the American public. But who's getting it? Terrorists. In the meantime, the leftist lies try to race ahead of the truth, trying to undermine what we're doing, save our elections, protect our vote. Maryland Congressman Democrat Raskin on free elections.
They've got no program for the country other than disenfranchisement, voter suppression, the SAVE Act, which I think violates the 19th Amendment when you tell American women you bring your driver's license and you bring your birth certificate, and if they don't match, which they won't for 69 million American women, then you need to bring a passport. And half of the people don't have passports, you know? So, oh, yeah, just go out and buy an ID. That's a poll tax.
That is not a poll tax. But Raskin, here's the other thing. For all of you who are supporting Muslim jihadist attitudes and undermining what we're trying to do to stop them, under Sharia law, no woman will vote. I don't care what kind of ID you have. There's a podcaster that called out AOC and fake Bernie Sanders.
Persisted in being who she was, which is essentially a fraud. She pretends to be this socialist woman of the people, but she wears $2,000 makeup at a Sanders rally. Yeah, okay. So I actually feel
I expected her to look different. She looks the same. I mean, she's an attractive person, but I expected a bit more. I don't know who that celebrity makeup artist is, but man, you just go to the counter over at Bloomingdale's and they'll help you a bit there for free.
My mom always told me if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. So I'm not gonna say anything about how
I should have listened to mine.
I just think She's duping her followers, and it's just she's following the footsteps of Bernie Sanders, selling something that isn't real.
Oh, yeah. Well, Bernie, the one who he's the socialist with multiple homes. I mean,
Three mansions,
I love that
multi-millionaire, let's be clear.
Yeah. They're always going to tell you how you should live your life. And you're always going to be told, we're going to be a country where everyone is equal. You buy that lie? You, my friend, are either an idiot, fool, or both. They will be more equal than you. That I promise you. John Laboutiere coming up next as we move forward. Lock and load. Ready on the right.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Producer Joey V from the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show here, reminding you, don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Tune in to Joey V's Movies Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J. Steakhouse in Moscow Mills.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
Hey, it's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and I'm here with Dr. Grant Black. And Grant, does having more economic freedom make a difference in people's lives, such as maybe helping reduce poverty?
It definitely makes a difference. Economic freedom is critical for fostering well-being and prosperity. It enables people to make their own choices and pursue their own interest, like choosing careers, starting businesses, and innovating to make the world better. It thrives in environments that empower people, promote competition, and protect property rights, all while being supported by limited and healthy government. Economic freedom is a catalyst for generating higher incomes, greater wealth, more opportunities, better access to education, and improved health at all levels of society. It makes a difference.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
This is what's happening.
The president has no plan for any kind of large-scale ground force inside of Iran.
This war is not about the Iranian people. It's about this poisonous regime.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Well, they used to make a living off of bathtub gin. When the hippie showed up, weed was in. Well, they profit off of weakness, and they always have. Now meth is a recipe for cold hard cash. Something's cooking and it just ain't right. Hell's Kitchen gonna burn tonight.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
My next guest we've had on numerous times before, and I know some of you don't like him. You don't like his views anyway. Well, I like him, although I don't always accept his views as well. Former New York Congressman John Laboutiere and the author of the book Harvard Hates America. John, thank you for your time again today.
Thank you, Larry. Always great to be on with you. And your listeners and I might not agree, but I'm glad that they can hear my view. And it's good for them to hear other sides, you know.
I agree with that. So let's begin with one thing very quickly. We have not had a chance to discuss your thoughts on what we're doing in Iran right now.
Yeah. Well, look, I hate the Iranian government. I want them gone. On that, we're all on the same page. How to do it is the issue. And I don't think this is doing it yet. If at all. I don't think you can bomb from the air and displace a government and replace it with anything good. There's no evidence of it.
But you're not calling for
No,
boots
this
on the
isn't-
ground.
Well, I'm not calling for boots on the ground. And that's what makes this thing difficult. How do you do regime change without boots on the ground? That's the $20 billion question, you know. And what I worry about is that we have definitely crippled them militarily. And they needed to be crippled. They are a malignant force throughout the Middle East and throughout the world, no doubt. But Trump is going to lose his attention span for this thing in a week or two, especially if gas goes over $4 a gallon, and we're headed there. And he's going to leave. He's going to pull out, leaving the regime still in place. And they are still dangerous. We're leaving behind, if this happens, a wounded, angry animal.
All right.
With means. And the means are oil and drones and some missiles and terrorism and sleeper cells and all that stuff. And we're going to be in a protracted fight with them.
I'm putting down on my calendar to check back with you in about 2 to 3 weeks and see how your prediction stands up. And I want to put against your remarks. Go ahead.
The only prediction I made is Trump will leave. I mean, that's coming. There's no doubt.
We don't want to be. We do not want to be there forever. Now, today, the man he appointed as the top counterterrorism official, Joe Kent, said, "I'm resigning. I cannot continue to support the ongoing war in Iran. It posed no immediate or rather imminent threat to our nation."
Yeah. Well, he's a MAGA guy, you know, and he's a patriot. That guy, he served in the service. His wife was killed in the service. He's a hell of a guy, Joe Kent, from what we've heard.
But when the phrase imminent, the phrase imminent is the issue that many have tried to toss aside. I don't care if they're going to have it 3 days from now or 30 days from now. I don't want them to have uranium enriched to nuclear grade.
Correct. We do not. And by the way, that leaves the other issue is what I read is there are estimated 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium in their nuclear program somewhere, probably underground, in Iran. And if we don't go get it and get it out of there, that could be later on spun up into nuclear weapon grade fissionable material. So that hasn't been answered yet. What are we going to do? Putin, apparently last week on the telephone with Trump, offered to take it. The Iranians would give it to the Russians, and the Russians would take it to Russia and get it out of Iran, which apparently they did once before. And Trump this time turned it down. I don't blame him. I don't trust Putin one bit. So that is an issue we're going to need to address before we leave the Middle East.
All right,
Otherwise, they could take some of that stuff, make a dirty bomb, get it down to Israel, and God knows what would happen.
Yeah, it's frightening when you consider that. In the meantime, Trump has been asking for our allies to join him in helping block the Strait of Hormuz. Britain has said, no, we'll consider it.
Unblock it.
Well, unblock it to allow ships to go through. You're correct. France is passing on it. Germany is not doing anything. Ireland, Australia, Spain, they all are suddenly walking away. And what he points out, we would be coming to your help if you asked for help, and we would expect you to do it for us. But now we see what you'd really do. Is this a fracture in the NATO alliance?
If so, it's of his own. It's Trump's own making. He didn't consult with them. He didn't get them involved at the beginning before we attacked Iran. They learned about it like we did on the TV on that Saturday morning. And that's no way to put an alliance together. Think back on the two Gulf Wars that the two Bushes did over there. They went for months gathering other nations to be a coalition. Same with Afghanistan, which was a NATO effort, by the way, where they did come to our rescue after 9/11. This one, Trump goes it alone, thinks it's all going great. Then this Strait of Hormuz thing comes up. He can't get it opened up. We won't be able to get it opened up for several weeks at the earliest. And he's now asking nations to help him. It's a little late, you know.
In the meantime,
it's really not the way to get an ally, and it's not good to trash the ally. He's trashing these guys publicly.
In the meantime, Al Jazeera, the Qatari government-funded news organization, says the U.S.-Israeli strategy is working.
Well, it's definitely working in that we have weakened that regime heavily. There's no doubt. But, you know, it's like the mafia, the war in this country on the mob. What always happens? We take down a big mob leader, try and convict him. Does that end the mob? No, they put another guy on top of the mafia family, and they keep on going. I don't know if we can get. I mean, I wish the people of Iran would have a 1776 moment and overthrow the government there, but I don't think that's going to happen. They don't have any weapons. We're not giving them any weapons, and the Iranian government, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, are vicious and shoot people in the streets, as we know. And I don't know what's going to cause the regime to be removed.
The same issue being raised about Cuba at this point.
Well, that's it. Cuba's zero. They're a zero. They don't have a huge military machine. They're not really the same. And I could see that government falling. And I don't even know what they have left for a security force.
All right,
to keep the people down.
I'm with you on no boots on the ground for an invasion force in Iran. What about limited expedition forces in and out?
Definitely. If we're going to go in and get that 1,000 pounds of nuclear material, I think it has to be done.
All right.
And look, that stuff could be bottled up and brought over here in a dirty bomb, too. And
right.
You unleash one of those, it's not a nuclear bomb with the mushroom cloud, but it's radiation that can make a place uninhabitable for 100 years.
All right, very quickly on politics in our last minute. Susan Rice, who'd been in the Obama administration, said that once Democrats are back in control, there will be political retribution.
No, well, I didn't hear that, but I'm sure they think there will be
consequences.
We're not there yet. Look, I think well, that's the way it always is.
Yeah.
You know, the out party, when they get back in, they wreak havoc on the people they just defeated. I mean, I don't know really what kind of retribution she's talking about, but the Democrats are likely to win the House back. I think that is going to happen.
All right.
Yeah. The Senate, I don't know. Senate's in play, though.
All right. Well, it's important that we keep all of these in front of our public. Are you worried about, very quickly, the American voters kind of disenfranchised, not really caring about voting midterm?
No. I think there's high level of interest in what's going on in the country. And I don't think that's just on the left either. I think Republicans, conservatives, MAGA people, they're all paying attention. They're all worried about the state of this country from their own point of view. They're worried about the economy, the tariffs. We haven't even talked about the tariff ruling and all that. I think the country's very engaged, Larry, and I think there's be a big turnout for the midterms.
Well, John, I want to thank you again for your time as always.
Love being on. Let's do it again sooner rather than later.
Yes, sir. John LaBoutiere, former New York congressman. We spoke about Cuba a moment ago. Let me bring you up to speed by an MSNBC report on Cuba.
confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
Oh, yes, we're getting into that blustery time in St. Louis. It's March, April, and May. You all know what happened last May with the tornado that came through. It seemed like there were a lot of spring storms last year and a lot of trees down. I know I had a couple, and the branches, too, coming down. I have seen on my front lawn a couple of branches that look so unassuming when they're way up in the sky, but suddenly they're right in front of you, and you're like, man, that could kill me or my kid or even break my car in half, whatever that is. You need to get that taken care of before your trees do some damage to your people or your property. And Hanson's Tree Service is just the outfit to do just that. Chad and his team, they are go-getters. They know how to get things done fast. They clean up, so you never know they're there, except, of course, you're safe now because your tree is down or it's been dead, wooded, and pruned. And they also have a financing plan for you to make it super easy for you to pull the trigger on getting that done to protect your property and your family from down trees or down limbs, that kind of thing. On the happier side, ladies and gentlemen, they also have a variety of different mulching blades for you. They all the grinds are just beautiful. All the colors they have. I choose red mulch. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. Delivered to your doorstep, and you can order it online. Don't also forget, in growing season, as you are growing your shrubs or your flowers, plants, whatever, the magic bean, the composting mixture is absolutely ace. Has been that way for about 20 years now. Chad's dear dad, Jeff, is the one who came up with it, and it has been a legacy item ever since at Hanson's Tree Service. It'll grow everything you're trying to grow with it, even grass, in ways that will just wow you. HansonsTree.com, HansonsTree.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Country Mart in St. Clair is having a 16-hour sale. Saturday, March 21st, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Stock up with unbeatable prices. 2 pound of red ripe strawberries, $2.99. Dozen Best Choice Grade A large eggs, 2 for $3. Family pack ground beef, $4.19 a pound. 6-pack Pepsi products, 3 for $9. Family pack of chicken drumsticks, $1.19 a pound. Chester's 8-piece fried chicken, $9.99. Hurry while supplies last. See all items on our Facebook page. Country Mart on Plaza Drive in St. Clair.
Colombo and Company.
Debate and negotiations surrounding the government shutdown and the SAVE Act are heating up in Washington, D.C. this week. We'll get you the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Well, I walk into the room, passing out $100 bills, and it kills and it thrills like the horns on my Silverado grill. And I buy the bar double round the crown, and everybody's getting down in this town. Ain't never gonna be the same. 'Cause I saddle up my horse and I ride into the city. I make a lot of noise, 'cause the girls, they are so pretty. Riding up and down Broadway on my old stud Leroy, and the girls say, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Everybody says, save a horse, ride a cowboy.
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Another significant story we're following. An island-wide blackout hit Cuba yesterday amid that country's deepening energy and economic crisis. All 11 million residents of the island were without power after energy officials reported complete disconnection of the national electrical grid. Only about 5% of the island's power was restored by late last night, with officials warning the fragile grid could fail again. The blackout is Cuba's third major outage in just 4 months, as the government lacks proper funding for repairs as well as the needed spare parts. Cuba's president recently acknowledged the island has not received oil in 3 months and blamed the outages on the Trump administration's halting of Venezuelan oil shipments after the capture of Nicolas Maduro. President Trump was asked about Cuba yesterday in the White House.
But I think Cuba's the end. You know, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be a good honor. It's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now.
That remark, I'm telling you, that remark's going to cause a lot of consternation and anger inside the left. Oh, now he wants to invade Cuba because he said, I think I can take it. Not a big deal. We can take it. Marco Rubio has already been involved in talks with the leaders of Cuba, trying to see how can we best help your nation and protect our nation at the same time. In the meantime, Kim Jong-un threatening tactical nuclear strikes during a rocket launch. He said the enemies of our country, America, and South Korea would soon understand, and I'm quoting, destructive power of tactical nuclear weapons. The Korean Central News Agency put that word out as they showed Kong and his daughter, believed to be about 12 years old, watching an excursion to test firearms. The drill involved 12 600 million caliber ultra-precision multiple rocket launchers to artillery companies. And they say the drill would expose the forces hostile to North Korea. Are they just saber rattling? Do you want to take that for fact? Or do you want to recognize there could be something behind it? The U.S. is stretched thin on several layers right now. Obviously, in Iran, where we've got our latest and largest naval armada. But we've got other parts of the world to be concerned about. There's still Venezuela. There's still the drug wars and the cartels in Mexico. There's violence inside our own nation, and much of that caused by drug cartels and terrorists allowed across our border. Thank you, Joe Biden. And every American citizen is at threat. And of course, we have many in this nation who have pledged their allegiance to Allah, and they're more than willing to carry out jihad. We saw that last week, the attack at Old Dominion. We saw it at the Michigan synagogue. And they do not care if they die in the process of killing Americans. I do not want you to run around frightened and afraid all the time. But you've got to be aware of your surroundings for you and your children. And I know that's tough. There are already enough threats that could harm your children, aside from terrorists and illegals who decide, I've gotten away with raping and killing 2 other children. I can do it again. I keep going back to this premise, and I've yet to see a single Hollywood elite come forward and say, I will do it. For every leftist, are you listening? Are you listening? If you want all the illegals to stay in our country, then tell them that you will sign and take control of them. They can live in your home, maybe even bed with your children, and you will be responsible for any actions they carry out. Not one Democrat has come forward to agree to that. And they're not going to because they know the threat is real. But many of them, they live in palaces. They have moats around their land. They're not going to lower the drawbridge even for the homeless to camp on their grounds. But they don't care if they're in the midst of your city, your community. And if they're here illegally, they are illegal. Now, I've not been about grabbing up everyone illegal and shipping them out. I want to go after those who have committed serious crimes. And they are primarily and still in with the protection of blue city sanctuaries and blue states. And yes, from time to time, someone who's lived here 30 years, never causing a problem, just trying to have a better life for their family. That's what you would want. They came to America to be part of it, to assimilate. But many came here to cause chaos, havoc, murder, to take what you have. Did you hear about Jasmine Crockett, graduate of MICDS? And yet often she's talking gutter slang. She doesn't seem to know how to speak English. Well, a man she had hired to work security for her was killed by law enforcement in a standoff in Dallas. This 39-year-old had barricaded himself in a parking garage at Children's Medical Center. They were tracking him down on an active warrant. SWAT officers told him to get out. He wouldn't do it. Finally, he stood up, reached for his waist, pointed a gun at police. They did not hesitate. Good. But Jasmine still says, well, he was a good guy. He worked with me. He lied to get the job. He was using a gun during the standoff, reported stolen. He had false identification and uniforms, acting at various levels of either federal or state law enforcement. A total lie. And yet we've got the left still insisting we know how to make things better for you. If Jasmine Crockett had her way, that's the kind of people she would surround herself with. And I'm not sure she hasn't. Are you? Are there other Democrats and Republicans guilty of the same? More than likely. Then you've got Governor Walz in Minnesota and Mayor Jacob Fry. They've been very concerned because there's acknowledgement now by Crime Watch Minnesota how widespread there's been a dramatic increase in auto thefts so far this year. Well, wait a minute. Who's been the governor during all this time? Who was the governor when all the Minnesota Somalia fraud was taking place? And now you got Mayor Jacob Fry. Free, I think is his name. I'm going to call him Fry because I'm looking to see him fried. And they continue to attack ICE and other federal agents. And they continue to encourage citizens to battle against ICE. They don't belong here. You want to get in the street and fight them? So be it. There will be a day of reckoning. State of California has one coming up. They're going to have to elect a new governor. Newsom has finally run out of time. He has to leave because he's run out of terms he's allowed to hold the office. But here's what he says. Here's what I know the next governor of California must do to make things better. And he knows because he's leaving it in this shape.
Affordability is number one. Issue of housing costs everywhere I go. That's the universal issue. Number two, people are just fed up with the homeless crisis in the state. No other state in the country has many people out in the streets and sidewalks as the state of California. I think if the next governor doesn't address the issue of affordability on housing, that governor will have failed. If we don't address the homeless issue in a meaningful way, we'll have failed also on a moral framework because it's a tragedy to see so many people self-medicating in drug or alcohol addictions, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, paranoia out on the streets and sidewalks. So those two issues for me have been most resonant on this campaign trail.
This is like, Governor, did you know we have thousands of homeless in our state? No, I didn't know that. All this time you've been governor, you didn't know that. And you didn't do anything about it, did you? Except look for more money to spend. And what money you had, you spent unwisely. But of course, during the COVID scare, you made it very clear everybody must lock down. You must wear a COVID mask. Oh, except for Nancy Pelosi. You can go have your hair salon open up so you can get your hair done. Oh, and for me and my friends, we could go to Napa Valley and enjoy the French Laundry. Friends, and neighbors. If you've never been to the French Laundry, this is not where you go to get your pants pressed. It's a very exclusive restaurant. Well, Larry, how do you know? I know because there was a time I was in Napa Valley and I went to the French Laundry to see what it was like. Well, when I saw the menu, I didn't see prices on there. That told me this is going to get rich. Before we knew it, we had dropped a lot of money. The food was good, very nice, but not worth it. But remember that they opened up the French Laundry so Governor Newsom, during COVID, could hold a private closed-door event with representatives of pharmaceutical and health companies. One hand washing the other. Did you bother looking at the Oscars the other night? I didn't. And I pointed that out yesterday. But one recipient of the Best Actor said, first words out of his mouth, thank God. I know they had to tick off a lot of them. But another actress praised marriage and motherhood. But then when you look at the numbers who were there pushing for, worried about climate doom and destroying our country, our nation, our world, they left the theater looking like a pigsty. Mounds of trash, water bottles, snack bags, food debris and programs just all over the floor. Didn't even bother to take it to the nearby trash can. Why? Because they are better than you. Have you not gotten that yet? Yeah, they are better than you. And they want you to know it. Pick up my trash. As always, thanks for listening. We'll be back at 6 o'clock tonight for a repeat of this, and back at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Remember our pledge, one nation under God.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you